Hello, this is the Kevin's Bookstore, and today we're gonna read The Molly Moon Stops the World. Chapter 2. Molly Moon threw a bumper-sized packet of honey wheat puffers up the supermarket aisle. The box flipped through the air and the fat cartoon bee on it flew for the first and last real flight of its life before it landed with a crunch in the shopping cart. "Bullseye! 20 points to me," Molly said with satisfaction. A shower of jaw-drop bubble gums came raining down into the cart from over the shelves of cereals. "How can Ruby eat so much gum?" a boy's voice asked from the other shopping aisle. "She's only 5. She sticks her pictures up with it," said Molly, pushing the metal cart to the canned fish corner. "How can Roger eat so much sardines? That's what I want to know. Cold, too straight from the can. Disgusting. You can't stick pictures up with sardines. 10 points for those gums and double it. Green eyes because I got them in front over the other side." The husky-voiced boy emerged from behind a giant stack of baked beans. His dark brown face was framed by a white hat with ear flaps. He put a large bottle of orange squash concentrate in the cart. "Thanks, Rocky," Molly said. Orange squash concentrate was Molly Moon's favorite drink. She liked to drink it neat. She disentangled a pen from behind her ear and messy hair and wrote down their checking scores in a small worn notebook. Molly, 45, 100, 140, 175. Crossed, 210. Rocky, 40, 90, 133, 183. Crossed, 228. "Okay, wise guy, you win this week, but I'll be in the Champ before Easter." Then Molly consulted their list. It said, "Happiness House shopping, baking stuff, potatoes crossed, onions crossed, tomatoes crossed, parsnips crossed, lettuce crossed, eggplants crossed, coffee crossed, milk crossed, cream crossed, tea bags crossed, sugar crossed, 10 tins sardines crossed, white flour crossed, 4 honey wheat crossed, eggs crossed, celery crossed, potatoes crossed, parakeet food crossed, chicken crossed, oats crossed, dog food crossed, cashews, frozen peas crossed, mouse food crossed, chops crossed, butter crossed, baguettes crossed, sausages crossed, exciting stuff, cube crossed, potato chips crossed, cheesy biscuits crossed, biggie drinks crossed, Moon's marshmallows, orange squash concentrate crust, biscuits, crust, ketchup, crust, heaven, bands, magazines, sweets, sherbet, crust, presents, jaw drop gums, crust, chocolates, crust, teeth, whitener, crust, popcorn, crust, lip gloss, crust, showing bloom and wagons, crust. Happiness House was the orphanage where Molly and Rocky lived. When Molly Moon was a baby, she'd been left on its doorstep in a Moon's Marshmallows box, which is how she got her name. Until recently, the children's home had been called Hardwick House, and as that name might suggest, it had been an extremely difficult place to live in. But just before Christmas, Molly had been delayed a spectacular life-changing card. In the library in the nearby town of Briversilve, she'd found a faded old leather-bound book, the Book of Hypnotism by Dr. Logan. It had changed Molly's life. After learning the book's secrets and discovering that she possessed incredibly powerful hypnotic skills, Molly had left the orphanage and gone to New York, accompanied by the orphanage pug, Petula. There she'd used hypnotism to get the starring role in a Broadway musical called Stars on Mars. Molly had fooled and controlled hundreds of people, and she made lots of money. But a crook called Professor Knockman had discovered her secret. He had kidnapped Petula and blackmailed Molly into robbing a bank for him. It had been dreadful until Rocky had shown up and helped her sort Knockman out. Molly had left New York behind, bringing with her the money that she'd earned and a large diamond that had come her way the day of the bank robbery and Professor Knockman. Back at the Hardwick house, things began to get better at last. Molly had removed the witchy orphanage mistress. The building had been renamed, and the kind, although slightly batty, window cold Mrs. Trinkleberry, who had worked at the orphanage before, had come to help her mentally. Molly had told her that the money she'd brought back from America was from a rich person called the benefactor who wanted to help the children's home. Molly had also hypnotized Knockman and brought him with her to be Mrs. Trinkleberry's assistant. She was hoping that by working with someone as kind as Mrs. Trinkleberry, Knockman would soon reform and become a genuinely kind person too. So far the experiment was working well. Molly checked her list. They had about everything now, all the healthy food, the vegetables and fruit that Mrs. Trinkleberry had asked for lay squashed at the bottom of the cart underneath milk and fizzy drinks. On top were the special items, the presents for the 6 children from the orphanage who were away. Gordon Boyles and Katina Redmond were at an outward bound course, where Gordon, wanting to look meaner, had shaved his head. Molly had bought shaving foam and razors for him and chocolates for Cynthia. Hazel Hackersley and Craig Redmond, Cynthia's twin, were at a ballroom dancing course, so Molly was sending them lip gloss and teeth whitener. Jinx and Ruby, the two 5-year-olds, were staying at Mrs. Trinkleberry's lovely sister's pig farm. Molly was mailing them a package of popcorn and bubble gum. Molly scratched her head, hoping she hadn't got lice again. All that's left now is something for everyone who's still at home. Roger needs his his nuts. Poor Roger, he's nuts, said Rocky, lobbing some cashews into the cart. Indeed, Roger Fibbin was. Since Molly had returned, he had grown more and more muddled by the world. He spent most of his time up the orphanage oak tree. Agreed Molly. Got my ketchup and Mr. Nookman's parakeet food, got Gemma's sherbet and Jerry's cheesy biscuits. Just need our candy and Mrs. Trinkleberry's magazines. Molly pushed the heavily laden cart down the last aisle toward the front of the store and scooped up a carton of toffees, a bag of candy sticks, some heaven bars, and a giant package of Moon's marshmallows. Rocky plucked Celebrity Globe and Welcome to My World, At Home with the Stars, from the magazine rack. Kid Nuttall Kidnap, the Brisbane Evening Chronicle declared in black print, but Rocky didn't look at the newspapers. He and Molly piled their purchases onto the checkout conveyor belt. A pretty young woman with thick hair and gentle hands started tapping out prices on her register. Molly looked at her fresh country face and her nylon apron. She could almost belong to a different species from the people on the front of the glossy magazines that lay in front of her. Oscar's special issue trumpeted the headline on Celebrity Globe, beside a close-up photo of a woman with tumbling golden hair and a smile so full of teeth that Molly thought she must have had extra ones put in. Her lips were like shiny pig slugs, and her eyes were like a leopard's. Molly knew her face well. Everyone did. Sucky Champonge, Academy Award nominee, shows us her shoes, it said under the picture. Mrs. Trinkleberry would be pleased. Her favorite time of year was when the Academy Awards came around, the time when Hollywood handed out prizes, the Oscars, to the most talented people in the film business. Mrs. T usually talked of nothing else for weeks. Welcome to My World had a picture of a man who looked more like a god than a human. His skin was as dark as coal, and he wore a Tarzan-lift outfit. His long dreadlocks were blowing perfectly in the wind as he stood in the sun on a cliff topped by the sea. I'd look just like him if you put me in one of those toga things, said Rocky with a wry smile. I just need to grow my hair longer. And a few muscles, said Molly. Hercule Stone invites us to his Malibu villa, ran the words beside the star's glistening stomach. For a moment Molly felt a pang of regret. If she'd continued with her starry career in New York, she might have been beside the sea in California this week, and on the cover of Welcome to My World. Her hypnotic talent could have taken her to the very top, but she'd given up her life of fame and wealth to come home and be with her friends and family. Now she was only special in an ordinary way, just like the checkout girl in front of her. Molly took her change, breathed out happily, and on the way out of the shop tossed all her loose coins into the cardboard cap of the crazy woman who always sat there talking to herself, wrapping in a dirty sleeping bag. "Thank you, my child," she said with a snuggly toothed smile. Molly didn't like people calling her their child, because she was nobody's child. She was an orphan. But she felt mean thinking this about the sad woman who slept in the supermarket doorway. "That's all right," she said. "Happy New Year, Happy March."